Welcome back, guys, to my channel. Um, we're back with part 3. If you haven't watched part 2, then go and watch part 2, and we'll go from there yet again. So, we left off on Crimson Katai, so we're on Fei Yoshinda now. My viewpoints on this toy, and basically go from there. So, this was the last event toy that well, the last previous event toy that was the event that came before. So my overall viewpoints of this toy is her ability range and her normal range is fairly decent for this toy, to be fair. Um, her ability range is very good for a melee toy, to be fair, if you know how far her ability does. Her attack speed is very good as well. I do like the attack speed on this. Um, the damage overall on this toy is not the strongest, but it pays up for it, seeing of her ability and how quick her ability activates is quite good actually. Um, she can be quite good in the right situations. Her pricing, I would say, is fair. I wouldn't say it's great, but it is fair. Just because of her ability is very, very good. If I had to choose between an endless or normal run, definitely more normal run, not an endless run. Right, so we're gonna go with the Frost Guard now. Frost Guard, personally, I don't like this toy. Um, it's alright, but it's not great. His ability will summon a enemy unit, well, enemy Frost toy beside him, and it will do range damage as well, I believe, if I got that correct. His damage is very, very good considering the price per upgrade, but I think it technically needs it because of how sort of useless this toy actually is. I mean, he slows enemies down, but apart from that, he's not great, guys. Um, I wouldn't really recommend using this toy at all, personally, in either of them. I mean, you can use it in normal runs if you wanted to, but even then, I wouldn't bother. Okay, Mitres, if you know with my builds before, you know I use Mitres a lot because these toys are so broken. I literally, the cooldown is so quick that it just makes them utterly broken. And if you have this toy upgraded enough in endless mode, you can do an infinite lockdown on toys. You have to get this to, I think, roughly level 90, and then it will continuously chuck rocks all the time at enemies. And especially with the price range on this as well, on how much it increases, only 1000 increase, it's ridiculously cheap for a very broken toy. I don't know how much longer this is going to be like this toy, because it is a very broken once upgraded. So yes, I would recommend using that for endless, but not overly in normal runs. Rich Kid, I hardly ever see anyone using anymore. I know it used to be very, very overpowered and would give you a lot of cash per um, level, but obviously now, because NL collectors out there, NL will give you more once upgraded. His ability is good in my opinion, but the damage is rubbish. The damage buff is rubbish at only pluses 1, but his ability is very useful. The only reason I say his ability is very useful is because once you get it, I think it's 22 you need him, level 22, he does an infinite chain ability, um, basically silencing all enemies in his ability, and then he actually starts dealing decent damage as well once you get him that high. But the pricing of this toy, I would say, it needs to be 2,500, not 3,000, because of the damage of it, it's just not worth investing that much in upgrading him, in my opinion. Okay, Stickmaster. Stickmaster is another wild card for me, personally. because I know people do use these a lot. I feel like this toy is actually quite a good toy, but it's only effective if you have multiple of them, personally, or upgrade them enough. The pricing of it, I would say it needs to be 2,500 again per upgrade. Um, but apart from that, I would say his abilities are fairly useful for that. Maybe you could reduce him to 300, I think, because he's not overly used too much anymore, but he will be used every now and again. Okay, Wooden Reviewer, I know a lot of people do use this in their formation builds. Yes, he is a good support toy. He's not a very good attacker, as you're probably aware, so personally, I would say on that note, I wouldn't overly use him as much, but if I had him as a support unit, I would use him if I needed range. His upgrade ability, I would say, is okay. Um, and it's fair for that because obviously the more trees you have, the more units will get the range boost, and I feel like that's fair for that because obviously if it was cheaper, then it would just make it too easy. So I don't think anything really needs changing on that. You can use this for both. Personally, I would say it's more of a normal run again than endless run. Okay, where did we get to? Bomb Kitten. Oh boy. Okay, Bomb Kitten. Personally, I dislike this toy. I feel like it's not a good toy at all. No one hardly ever uses this toy. It's got decent damage, but its abilities absolutely suck so much, literally. Like, if you're going to change this ability or make it better, what I would have done personally is made it so his ability will scratch the enemies instead of putting those balls in the um enemy's way to like stall them, because I would have made this one so it scratches the enemy and does like a crit hit or something, and the more times it like goes into like rampage mode or something, the higher the damage or crit will get or something. I don't know. I feel like if he did that to this toy, it would be far better and more people would use it. But apart from that, another one I would say to go with normal run, not endless. Um, right, so Breezer. Breezer is a nice little toy. I do like this toy. It's actually a very good money maker as long as he's attacking. If he's not attacking, you won't earn any money. When he's not attacking, you will earn 50% extra damage. Personally, a lot of people I would say would use him more just for the damage boost more than anything, but that being said, hardly ever see anyone using him, and people probably won't end up using him anyway. Unless if you're going to use him just for the damage boost, that's about the only thing I would say use him for. Because obviously his Nova ability as well gets in the way, and that takes up so much room, which is quite irritating when you've got a small map. FF Croc is still very broken. The amount of damage it does on a boss per difficulty is crazy. Um, and still needs a rework, I think, because he's good, but I feel like his ability should be um, better or something. Like, for example, his ability, it bites the enemy, but I think what it should do is like swing its tail or something at the enemy in like an AoE effect, so that way it affects more enemies. Because his ability is fairly slow for what it is, in my opinion. The pricing of how much it upgrades by is very cheap, and I think that's fair for how bad this toy sort of is. But saying that, another normal run. Okay, so we got to Ingenomens now. Ingenomens, I do like this toy. It's only really good when you boost multiple of these together. If you boost all of these together, you'll get infinite range for a short time, and it is quite overpowered. I think that's why these got nerfed not long ago, because they are quite overpowering once they stack. You can use this for endless runs, but I wouldn't really recommend using this for endless runs. I would definitely use this for normal runs. Okay, here we go again. Another wild card. Jack of all trades now is just, I don't know how to describe it really. Jack of all trades used to be really, really good, but since the bug's been fixed with him, I'm not sure if it was a bug or not. His ability is utterly useless. Like, there's no point of even looping it because you only loop them from like there to there, and it's like barely anything at all looping. Whereas before the bug, you could loop it round a map like multiple times, and it would save your butt so many times if you wanted to try and do like a challenge mode. Its damage for its price is very, very good, but saying that his range is really poor again, but his damage sort of pays up for this. I wouldn't really recommend using this toy in either of them, but if you really want to use it in a normal run. Okay, Litzo. I'm not going to try and pronounce the whole of this. I'll just pronounce him Litzo. Litzo, in my opinion, is very, very good and very powerful. As you can see, every time you upgrade him, you do 20 plus damage each time. And that is very, very good for this toy, in my opinion. Yes, his ability is slow, but it pays up for it because of his ability basically will hit multiple enemies. It won't just hit one. So once he activates his ability, it will just wipe out all the unwanted enemies that you don't need if you keep upgrading them. Especially for endless mode, he is quite good with the right build again. And even in normal runs, he can be quite good, but he's not as effective in normal runs because you won't have enough damage to deal decent amounts of damage to enemies. Okay, so we're at Mastuskin now. Mastuskin, I never ever really see anyone using this. His ability, I think, needs reworking because his ability is pretty useless. It just makes the fireballs go bigger, so it hits pretty much anything on the map. But I feel like if this had a complete utter rework, it could be better and could be far more useful than other toys. His price range needs dropping to 1,500, I think, because his abilities are just so rubbish on this toy. Like I said, that not really worth going with. Okay, NL Tilaya. This one again, very, very good for endless, not so good for normal run. If you combine this with the NL collector, it's very overpowered. Because if you combine this as the main attacker and then with the NL collectors, you get crazy amounts of range and decent damage. And the price range is fair, I think, for that. Right, TGY IXL. TGY IXL, personally, not great. Not really worth investing in. Damage is good for the stun, and the range is good. And even with the 3 eggs, I like that because every egg you collect is technically like a free upgrade you get in. So you get basically like 10 plus levels without even doing anything. So if you think about it that way, you would get to level 15 without even really doing anything, even though you're technically not getting to level 15, if that makes sense. So then when you upgrade it to level 20, you're technically on level 35 on upgrades. So it can be good for range and damage, but overall, I would say he's not really a toy to go with.